Well, they're out here trying to rewrite history about who Charlie Kirk is, and I ain't having it. This is Old Texas Paul. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I really do hope it's better. Charlie Kirk was a bigot. He's an awful human being, and the world is better off without him. That's a fact. That is just a fact. That man said black people weren't intelligent enough to fly airplanes, and he doxed people he didn't agree with. He wasn't a free speech advocate. He was a jackass. He was a bully. He used his organization to try to attack people he didn't agree with. And I mean by attack, I mean like dox them and have people actually show up and scream and bully and terrorize these people. Free speech advocate, my ass. That all being said, just to placate the people that aren't part of our community, because every person that's in the Texas Paul Ride or Die community absolutely already knows this. No, he shouldn't have been shot. The only button that should have been pushed on Charlie Kirk and every one of his MAGA followers is the block button. Get those people out of your lives. Jesus.
So there are a lot of people on my social media feed that aren't real happy about my Charlie Kirk jokes. And I get it. So I just want to tell you guys, you better buckle the fuck up, because they're about to get a lot worse and a lot fucking darker. Like, for instance, the best thing Charlie Kirk did before he died was he actually leaned left. I mean, he kind of like slumped left, but hey, fucking a win is a win. And for all of you that are like, he was a husband and a father. Who gives a fuck? Nazis were husbands and fathers. Being a husband and a father doesn't magically make you a fucking good person. It just means somebody was dumb enough to fucking marry you and let you put a kid in them. That's all that means. Like, being a husband and a father doesn't negate you from being a fucking terrible human being. And it's funny because you motherfuckers were real quiet when Charlie Kirk was telling the transgender community that they had no right to exist. I didn't hear a single one of you say, hey, Charlie, some of those transgender individuals might be husbands and fathers. They might be somebody's brother or cousin or nephew or best friend. You guys were mysteriously fucking quiet then. Like, you guys didn't give a shit who was a husband or a father then. So, no, I don't give a fuck who's a husband or a father now.
Continuing to follow developments in the police investigation of the assassination of political activist Charlie Kirk. And Kirk was shot and killed during a political rally at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, earlier today. A spokesperson for the university said in a statement that Kirk was shot from the university's Losi Center, approximately 500 feet away from where Kirk was speaking. Earlier tonight, FBI officials and the governor of Utah confirmed that there was a person of interest in custody. A senior FBI official told NBC News that they were confident that the person was the shooter. But just about an hour ago, FBI Director Kash Patel posted on X that the subject in custody had been released after an interrogation by law enforcement and that their investigation continues. So that is where we stand as of now.
Breaking news, Donald Trump has ordered U.S. flags at all federal properties to be flown at half-mast as a result of the killing of Charlie Kirk. In light of this violence, I completely disagree with this decision and in fact call Donald Trump a hypocrite. Melissa Hortman, a politician in Minnesota, was recently killed. In political violence, Donald Trump did not lower the nation's flags to honor her, nor did he reach out to the governor to even share his condolences. I wonder if Donald Trump even knows what it means to lower the U.S. flag. He got mad when President Carter caused the flags to be lowered due to his passing, right during his inauguration. While I condemn all political and gun violence, this is not time for political showboating. And let's look at the reality of the situation. If the flag was lowered every time there was a mass shooting in the United States, the flag would be lowered almost every day of the year. Less thoughts and prayers, more action.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
You see, this is why I don't need to be hateful or say anything hateful after his death, because he wrote his own legacy. I will let Charlie Kirk's words speak for themselves. What I will do, though, is I will condemn violence, because I understand that a society that condones violence, as Charlie just did in that video, will only beget violence. I understand that this type of violence has now put more people in danger. It does not bring us closer to a resolution, closer to a solution. All it does is create a more violent environment for everyone. 15 minutes after this happened, 15 minutes after Charlie was shot, before we even heard that he had died from the gunshot wound, a guy walked past our veteran tent in Union Station and said, "Good job, guys. This is your fault. You did it. You're responsible for it. Your rhetoric got Charlie Kirk shot." That is an absolutely asinine take, because it's not our rhetoric. We preach nonviolent civil disobedience, have continually preached nonviolent civil disobedience. I just showed you a video, though, of rhetoric condoning violence. And when you condone violence, violence happens, which is why I'm not going to let these people make me like them. I hate everything they stand for, so I'm not going to be like them. I'm not going to stand for the shit they stand for. That's the difference between us and them.
Say this: Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. Every conservative in the country called panicking.
She's a lawmaker. She's a congresswoman. And she's not the only one saying this. The Democrats are responsible for this. Fox News, Jesse Waters, the Democrats are responsible for this. They're literally telling the conservative, the right-wing viewers, the right-wing voters, the right-wing crowd to declare war on the left. And what's the result of that?
This video's in regards to Charlie Kirk. And this video's for the fucking liberals. It's war, motherfuckers. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And spare me your fucking self-righteous bullshit lectures. I don't give a fuck. We're coming for you.
When I said earlier that I condemn violence, I will not condone violence. This is why violence only begets violence. They are blaming this on the left, blaming this on Democrats, when we're not the ones that spread the rhetoric of, gun violence is okay. Charlie Kirk himself spreads the rhetoric that gun violence is acceptable. But I need you to understand the communities that are most in danger with this type of rhetoric, this type of violence being threatened, this type of war on the streets being threatened. Not people that look like me. Unless you talk to me, unless you follow me online, you won't know that I'm a leftist. I'm pretty Republican coded. When they say they're going after the left, they're going to profile people to determine who the left is. So if you are black and brown, if you are trans, if you are queer, if they feel like you're trans, if they feel like you're queer, if they feel like you're a leftist at all, then you can be a target of this violence. And no, I'm not saying that everybody in the LGBTQIA plus community or black and brown community is a leftist. That's what they think. So why do I condemn violence? It's because always in this country, when violent rhetoric gets turned up, it's always marginalized communities that pay the highest price for it. Violence only begets violence forever and always. Nonviolent civil disobedience does work. We need to do it en masse. We need to shut the system down. But now, by the actions of one man, everybody on the right is using this as an opportunity to attack. Because guess what? The people on the right, the politicians on the right, they know they're losing. They know that the nonviolent civil disobedience is working. They know that the tide is turning against them. They know that the American people are not standing for their bullshit. So they need something. They need something to take control of it and stop us. They're grabbing onto this violent act to declare war on the left. And the most ironic part of the entire thing is that everybody I hear from the left is condemning the violence, condemning the shooting, and they are now calling for more violence. It is always their rhetoric that calls for violence, and it is always the rhetoric of the left to preach nonviolence and condemn acts of violence.
Charlie Kirk died today. I'm sure we've all heard the news. I started watching news stations just to get a feel of what's going on. I turned it on to MSNBC, which we all know it's a liberal station, okay? And they were almost praising Charlie Kirk. Oh, he was a guy who really organized and brought people together. And I went, am I in an alternate timeline? I go on my Facebook page, of course, mostly conservative people I met in the past. And they're like, oh, we're praying for this man. He's a great man. And I'm like, what timeline am I in right now? Charlie Kirk was not a good person, okay? He was a terrible person. I'm not sitting here saying he should have been shot. I do not condone gun violence. I do not condone any type of violence whatsoever. But I'm not going to sit here because his life was ended on a thing that he advocated for, gun rights, when he was saying in the past that sometimes people have to die for people to keep their gun rights. I'm not going to sit here and act like he was a good guy. I'm not going to sit here and weep over the fact that he died. He was a racist. He was a misogynist. He was homophobic. He was transphobic. He was a terrible influence on this country, on our society. And just because you die doesn't mean you get some great obituary. No. You will be labeled as the thing you were. So it's crazy to me. MSNBC has been praising him. All these people are acting like we lost some great person in this world today. It is sad for his family that he died. Absolutely. It is sad that Republicans are going to take this and make it some big movement on their cause. When you look at all the violence against people, just in the last year, most of it has been right-wingers committing the violence. Even the attempt against Trump, if you believe it was staged, not a real, that guy identified as a Republican. So let's not act like this is some big leftist movement when the majority of the shootings come from the right side. Let's not forget that. But I can't believe this. Like, we're praising this guy. He was a terrible person. Okay? Facts are facts. I'm not sitting here applauding his death, but I'm damn sure not going to weep about it. And it is crazy to me that just because a person dies, we're going to act like we don't forget who he was. He was a bad influence on society. And once again, the thing that he advocated for, the words he said, came back with the cause of his death in the end.
I'm going to read some of my favorite quotes from Charlie Kirk. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Women should not work, but instead serve their husbands and raise children. If my 10-year-old daughter were raped and became pregnant, I would not allow her to have an abortion. Birth control has created very angry and bitter young ladies, and women in their early 30s, they're past their prime. Abortion is our modern Holocaust. If a 6-week-old fetus is not alive, then what does abortion do to the fetus? That's like saying an 88-year-old with dementia isn't really alive. At least 8 babies were born alive during botched abortions and subsequently died without receiving any care, treated as medical waste and discarded. Planned Parenthood's claim to offer health care is nonsense. They do abortions. He referred to transgender individuals as, quote, a throbbing middle finger to God, and then said that they should be taken care of the way we used to in the 50s and 60s. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up, new age term that does a lot of damage.
A new and explosive lawsuit against FBI Director Kash Patel, filed by former FBI executives. That lawsuit alleges Patel knowingly broke the law when he carried out the firings at the behest of the White House, and it quotes him as saying he knew he could get sued for firing agents without cause, but that his job depended on removing people who had worked on cases against President Trump because, quote, the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it. Joining me now, the MSNBC correspondents who got the early information about this lawsuit. They've been poring over it. Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian.
Well, the most striking thing about this stunning lawsuit is that it recounts alleged behind-the-scenes conversations with some of the biggest players in the Trump Justice Department. We're talking about FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and then senior DOJ official Emil Bovee. Look, our viewers have heard a lot about how the FBI has been politicized. Carol and I have been reporting on these issues for months. But here, for the first time, we have an on-the-record version of events from people who were in the room, including Brian Driscoll, one of the plaintiffs who ran the FBI for months before Patel was confirmed and then stayed in a senior job for months afterwards. And if these accounts are to be believed, it's actually worse than we could have imagined. This is a 69-page complaint that reads like a great piece of narrative journalism, Chris, and it portrays an FBI that is totally beholden to the whims of the Trump White House and to outside political actors, including MAGA activists on social media. As you mentioned in the intro, it alleges that Patel fired senior FBI executives on orders from the White House for reasons that were totally political. That's against the law, and the lawsuit says Patel acknowledged knowing it was against the law. He allegedly said he knew he would be sued, but that his job depended on him carrying out the orders of the White House. And what's really shocking to me is that many of these decisions seem to be driven by a small number of MAGA activists on social media who pressured Patel, Bongino, and the White House, often leveling false allegations against decorated FBI leaders. And to give you one example, MAGA activists falsely claimed, according to the lawsuit, that an FBI agent named Christopher Meyer, a military veteran, had participated in the Mar-a-Lago search. Meyer happened to be one of 4 pilots at the FBI, so he was actually flying Kash Patel around in an FBI jet. MAGA activists, of course, were outraged about this, so Driscoll was ordered to fire Meyer based on these false allegations. He resisted, according to this lawsuit, and told Patel it would be illegal, especially because Meyer is a military veteran with special protections. But Patel is quoted in the lawsuit as saying, "I can't save everyone." Driscoll was ultimately fired for refusing to terminate Meyer, and Meyer also was fired.
What's this other jet doing? What's this other jet doing? Holy fuck!
Oh my god! Oh my god! Jesus fucking Christ! Chris, are you?
Don't touch it.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh no!
Oh my god!
Fucking clear! It's really.
What's this other jet?
We lost 343 on 9/11, but we've lost over 326 since. By the anniversary this year, the number will have surpassed those who died on that day. It's time to climb in remembrance with 2,200 steps and 110 floors. Climb to honor those that we have lost, but also climb for yourself, because you are carrying on the legacy. You are still here doing the work. This is about overcoming obstacles. It's about managing adversity. And it's about hope. Hope for this generation.
That's the third. Down it went. The building just fell.
I want to get inside.
never forget. No matter the uniform we wear, the routes we fly, or the years we've worn our wings, we will always remember the events of September 11th. Lift up our heroes and do everything in our power to ensure the events are never repeated. Everything changed on September 11th, 2001. We're not only first responders to emergencies affecting the health and safety of the passengers and crew members in our care, we're also our nation's last line of defense in aviation security. This day highlights the tremendous bravery of flight attendants. Our heroes on those 4 fateful flights acted as first responders. They relayed the first intelligence of the day that alerted our nation and our fellow crew members on Flight 93, who in turn acted without reservation against evil, sacrificing their own lives to protect our country and the lives of countless others at the Capitol. The pain of mourning our dear friends also inspired new acts of heroism as our profession changed forever. In our flight attendant unions, we found comfort in one another and the courage to get back on airplanes to usher passengers and fellow crew members home to their loved ones. We are united in honoring our heroes. Our union encourages flight attendants around the globe to wear your AFA September 11th black ribbon pin or the AFA and APFA Never Forget Unity pin during the month of September. Join us for a moment of silence and quiet reflection at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, September 11th. AFA's online memorial, Never Forget, includes a listing of memorial services and services around the country and features a page where you can share your thoughts, memories, and tributes. Our AFA Honor Guard will attend services at our nation's 3 national memorials and in the U.S. Capitol to ensure the public remembers the sacrifice of flight attendants. Any member who volunteers time on our Never Forget initiatives throughout the year may be eligible to serve in future honor guards. Whether you choose to fly in tribute to our heroes or to recognize the day in some other way, know that you are a part of a flight attendant family. Never forget that it is our unity, our compassion for one another, and our resolve to protect all the freedoms of individual expression that make us strong. We will never forget our heroes, and we will always seek to honor their sacrifice with our actions, not only through our work for safer skies, but in the way we contribute to each of our communities at home and those that we visit around the world. 25 flight attendants, 8 pilots, and 3 customer service agents died on September 11th. Today, and every day, we honor their memory. We will never forget.
It's time for the Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Oh yeah. The Trucker John Livestream. Come along for a good time. It's a good time, good time. trucker John Love Street. It's gonna be a good time, gonna be the time of your life. Gonna talk some shit, hush your mouth. Gonna talk a little smack, gonna talk whatever comes of it. You're gonna always wanna come back. Well, yeah, it's the trucker John Livestream. He's the biggest, baddest, funniest mother you've ever seen. Watch your mouth, he's headed south. Not even sure what that means, but if it's one thing I know, the trucker John Livestream is the best thing you've ever seen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Trucker John.
Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. As well as can be, anyhow, or as good as can be. Let's see here if I can hear myself. Good morning, everybody. All right, there it is. We got microphone working. Good morning on this day of remembrance of 9/11. As good as can be. Watching the footage there, it does bring back a lot of. Every year it brings back these memories, sad memories, but we can't stop that from remembering. Like they say, never forget. We can't forget. We can't. Like they say, those that forget history are doomed to repeat it. We can't let this kind of stuff repeat itself and keep happening. So we have to stay vigilant. It's 9:52 a.m. I'm sorry I was late. To tell the truth, I was editing my that intro at the all the way until after 9 o'clock my time. And the thing about it is, I was trying to find stuff about 9/11. Oh, God damn it! I don't know if you guys can hear the goddamn weed blower guy. Anyhow, and of course everything is still about Charlie fucking Kirk. And so, you see in the intro, I had a bunch of Charlie Kirk stuff. That's all that was in. That's on all the feeds. I go to Threads and Substack and Instagram and Facebook and Blue Sky. I go to all these places, and all the top feeds and everything that I was seeing, it was all Charlie Kirk, which is understandable. It's a big story, and I I would be guilty of lying, I guess, if I said I haven't partaken in the whole Charlie Kirk thing. But today's 9/11, for God's sakes, and so I had to actually dig around and go in deeper to find some 9/11 stuff. So that's what it took me longer today to do, not only gather all the clips, and then you gotta download them, and then you gotta trim them up. You gotta put them in there, and you trim them down and try to resize them and format it a little bit, as best I can with the limited, doing it all on the iMovie editing app, which if you guys know anything about that, it's pretty basic. I mean, it's basic. It's good in a way. It's basic, which is good for me because I'm basic. My skills are basic, but still, it can be a little slow and to move stuff around and edit and stuff and try to trim every little piece down. So it took me a while, and it was mainly because on 9/11 I wanted to find some 9/11 stuff. Now I guess I could have looked for it yesterday, but I usually do that intro piece, I usually start gathering everything. Now for 9/11, I could have done earlier because 9/11, it's been 24 years, and but I guess I'm just in the habit of doing it right before the show, or at least an hour or two before the show, my daily show, because I'm trying to get the most recent, up to date stuff in there, for one thing. So anyhow, that's the deal. Sorry about that. It is 9:55 now here in Pacific time zone in Vegas. We're at 82 degrees. The high is only going to be 94 today. So nice to see us getting some cooler temperatures. And I'm really hoping that we are done with triple digits all the way until next June sometime, All right, guys. So I'm just looking at the chat. I'm not able to go all the way to the top. It just says, I'm starting off with Jin, the base, where he says hi to Josh. Good to see you. We got Damon Dog. The big dog is here. Damon Dog is here. VD Hertz. Hey, VD Hertz. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. VD Hertz says Kirk was a white nationalist. Christofascist. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Charlie Kirk was not a good person. But like we always say, I mean, I've said it, and we have to sort of, we have to have this disclaimer that we do not advocate him being, or at least I'll speak for myself, I do not advocate for him being shot or murdered. But this eulogizing of him, that he's like, I mean, I have a cousin, who I love dearly, but she's a right-wing woman, and she's posting on her Instagram page basically this glowing, like, loving memorial reel or whatever of Charlie Kirk, and it's just, and to me, my cousin represents a huge, well, certainly his base, and a huge chunk of the MAGA base, and how they just put this guy up, and I keep hearing about Charlie Kirk. People are mourning his death, and they're saying he was a conservative. They loved him because of his conservative values, and they show these guys going, he made me the man I am today, and all this kind of horse shit. And I'm like, okay, I've always had a problem understanding the definition of a conservative. And over the years, I mean, I kind of came to the conclusion of the, basically the old, small government, fiscally responsible or whatever. That's like the conservative definition, or at least how they would classify themselves for years and years and years and years. But now apparently, a conservative is someone who's a bigot and a misogynist and a homophobe and a transphobe, because that's all Charlie Kirk was about. And just because he and my cousin who's a Christian, very devoted Christian, so she put in this little memoriam thing to Kirk, about how he, someone asked him if he believes in Jesus, and he's like, yes, I believe, I gave my life to Christ, and all this kind of stuff. And so somehow that makes him, a good person, just because he gave his life to Christ. He should have concentrated on being more Christ-like, because he was anything but. Anyhow, all right. So the chat keeps disappearing. It's doing that thing again, where it's scrolling and I can't scroll back. So right now I'm at where Stephanie B2 is saying hello to everyone. So I've there's a lot of people that are in the chat that I've already missed. Here's James Jaramillo. See, now it disappears. So, but hi James. Nick Rich is here. Thanks for being here. Gin Up the Base. Hello, Gin Up Days. Good to see you. We've got Damon Dog the Big Dog. Roxanne79 is here. Hello. Nice to see. We have our cute little couple there. Jen and Roxanne are here in the lounge. There's yes, the 70B2. Michael McAndrews says us good Americans are all to the left of Nazis. David Weiss from Denver's here. Good to see you, David. Thanks for coming on in. He says, I refuse to own the death of Charlie Karma Kirk. Yeah, I mean, if that wasn't karma, I mean, that's very karmic the way he ended. I don't know if you guys saw my little video, my little remembering Charlie Kirk video that I posted last night, and lots of quotes about him talking about how hey, there's going to be some deaths if we want to keep the Second Amendment. That's just the way it is. That's logic. I think he said at one point. That's just logic. And as far as I know, the shooter is still at large. I think they may have found the weapon, maybe. I don't know. I had it on and something happened. Oh yeah, weapon recovered from MSNBC. And this is an hour ago. It says they recovered the weapon, but the shooter is still at large, apparently. And that shooter was no fucking doofus like the one in Pennsylvania. I'll tell you that much for sure. Yeah, so we got Stephanie B2's here, Michael McAndrews. Trumpy is instigating mass murder. Roxanne79 says, the base, she's sleeping. Oh, must be talking about Daisy, maybe, perhaps. I have missed a lot of the conversations, so I'm kind of mid-thread already. MJ Daniel says, good morning to James Jaramillo. Got the weed blower again, and it's really distracting me. I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, but it's picking up in my left ear. VD Hertz says, who said they could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and get away with it? That would be President Trump. And I was thinking that too. What was it? He said something, and it reminded me of that quote again. Like Trump just said something again yesterday, and I was like, there he goes again, Michael McAndrews says, Kirk was a Nazi. I don't condone murder, but Kirk was not a good guy. No, he was horrible. He was a horrible person. And so, again, I guess I got to keep saying this. Again, I don't condone his murder. I don't condone violence. I'm just like me and the Jolly Good Ginger, I don't condone any of that shit. But let's not pretend that he was. Let's not, put him up on this pedestal and pretend that he was somehow good. He was not. He was horrible. MJ Daniel says he himself said some sacrifice, some lives is needed for the Second Amendment. Just not him. He was very, very, even up to the very last microsecond of his life, he was very, very confident. You could tell he was very confident that he was not going to ever be the recipient of gun violence. And that's the ultimate, irony of this and the karmic thing. But he was talking about, as he was being shot, he was talking about, gun violence. Someone was asking him questions about gun violence. And he was very, very confident in the way he was talking and speaking. And it's almost like, it's kind of weird. This might be a bit, I don't know, maybe inappropriate for me to say this, but I did watch the videos, and a lot of you did too, of the actual bullet hitting him. And it hit him in the neck. Yesterday we were talking about the heart and the neck. It hit him right here. Right here. And I can almost imagine in the fraction of a second between the time he was shot and the time I think he was probably dead by the time he hit the floor, basically. But from the time he was shot and for that kind of micro, fraction of a second, it was almost like he was like saying, I know this is horrible of me, but it was all because you could see him, he kind of jolted. And I know that's sort of just the reaction of, from the whole thing, but it's almost like he was like going, oh shit, it was almost like an oh shit moment. Like, I fucked up, man. It's like, oh shit. I'm one of the ones. I didn't mean it. I was going to be the sacrifice for the Second Amendment. I didn't mean me. Now, I believe that when someone dies or is dying, even if it's a fraction of a second, that everything slows down and your whole life flashes before you. And in the time that he was shot to the time he fell down on the floor and was dead, I bet his whole life flashed before him. And I bet he had time to think like, oh, fuck. He probably had a whole conversation with himself in that fraction of a second. And because it almost looks like as he's getting shot, he's like, it's like, oh, fuck. No, not me. I'm not the one. I'm not supposed to be one of the ones that gets shot. I'm not supposed to be the sacrifice for the Second Amendment. It's supposed to be one of you fucks, not me. In that 1/10 of a second or less that he was dying and he was dead already, that was probably the last thought on his fucking warped brain. Christina Weibel says, I got help from Planned Parenthood and they do not do abortions. But that won't stop the right wing from denigrating or wanting to abolish Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, I believe, refers people to I think that's the thing. Maybe they do referrals. They certainly will tell women about their options and stuff like that. And that's just enough to put you on their list. AM is here. There's Roxanne Williams here. Hey, William, good to see you. Thanks for coming on into the old driver's lounge. MJ Daniel is here. Sandy Foltz is here. Again, the chat is skipping down, and I'm not able to scroll back up. And so if I miss you, it's just the way it is. Mr. Spock says it was an inside job. The lack of security is proof positive. Are we talking about 9/11 or are we talking about Charlie Kirk? Because that sounds like that comment could go either way. VD Hertz says Fed state law enforcement has never been dumber. I think we're still talking about Charlie Kirk. I guess this is the chat when the intro was playing, and I think this is during the Charlie Kirk part. And I wish this goddamn weed blower dude would take a break. Anyhow, it's really distracting when I'm trying to talk and gather my thoughts, and the goddamn weed blower. And there's nothing out there. I mean, it's like dirt and shit. Whatever. Josh, I know my wife actually loves me because I'm broke. Let's see. Christina Weibel's here. Hey, Christina, good to see you. Thanks for joining us in the old driver's lounge. AM, our cartoon administration, incredible. Incredible. Nick Rich says, in a place with open carry, you'd think they'd have some degree of security. I think, they thought, oh, this is Utah. Nothing will happen here. I mean, I'm with my people or something. I don't know. MJ Daniel says evangelical churches are practically an assembly line for making docile wives for creepy men like this. Again, the chat just disappears. Josh says, Spock, I tend to think it was done specifically to spark retribution. Michael McAndrews, a rapist coup attempter Nazi, tries to control everything. Coup attempter. Oh, coup attempter. Yeah. And we've talked about it. It's just so, the hypocrisy of Trump trying to claim that he's like this law and order, and he's all about, putting criminals behind bars, but then he fucking, pardoned 1,500 Jan 6 criminals. All those Jan 6ers were fucking criminals, and he fucking let them go. Yeah, there's Sandy. I see Sandy in the chat. MJ Daniel says the U.S. has never been in so much danger. We are at a real low point, that's for sure. I mean, we are so, we're so fucked with the way we're being. All of our national security, our bureaus, our intelligence agencies, our defense. It's all being led by a bunch of idiots. So we are very vulnerable right now. I'm just, I guess our only hope is that there are some people behind the scenes that are there that will grab the wheel if need be or something. I don't know, but I guess maybe that's a pipe dream on my part. Christine and well, this still has the same effect as it did then. I think now we're into the 9/11 part of the intro, and yeah, I was watching that, and now, do you remember? I know you guys are talking about 9/11 and about where you were and your remembrance of it. Now, for me, my remembrance of 9/11, and when I think of the morning of 9/11, I was completely oblivious to the whole thing. I didn't even know anything about it. I went to work. I was working at a car dealership at the time as a car salesman, and I didn't have to go into work until the afternoon, until sometime afternoon, like 3:00 or something, or maybe 1:00 or whatever it was. I forget. And so, and that morning, I was with my kids. My kids were just babies at the time. My son was only like 4, and my daughter was only 2. And I had the kids that morning, and I remember I got up, and we had breakfast. I fixed them breakfast. We were watching TV, but I didn't even put the news on because with the kids, we were watching like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or like Blue's Clues and stuff like that. And I think we had that playing, and then I remember we had a really fun morning. Me and my kids, just like we were playing games, and it was just like total oblivion to what was going on in New York City. I had no idea whatsoever. So then I got ready for work, and then I went to work. And as I was driving to work, I had the radio on, just regular over-the-air radio, and it was the local station. And they kept talking about, because by this time 9/11 had already happened. It was hours into it. I'm not sure if any of the buildings fell. I think maybe at that point, I don't know if the towers had fallen yet. I don't remember, but they were just talking about this kind of stuff, and I'm like, but I didn't, because it's kind of like being mid-thread in the conversation. they were talking about some stuff, but I was like, what the hell happened? What I had no idea. And it was this talk show. They just assumed everyone knew. Because there was no updated, like, earlier this morning, the Twin Towers in New York were attacked by terrorists with airplanes. None of that. I didn't get any of that. Oh, sorry about that. I just knocked into the table. So I was just getting like, I don't. Being mid-thread on this conversation, I really had no idea, but I knew something bad happened. I was like, God, something really horrible must have happened. And then I think finally I don't know, I changed the channel. I got to more of a news channel, and I just heard some, but it was all kind of like vague reports. But I knew, but by the time I got to work, it's like a 20-minute drive or whatever, 15-minute drive. By the time I got to work, I knew something really, really bad had happened in New York City, but I still didn't really know. And so I walk into the the showroom, one of the where I worked, and we all had our little offices, in there, and everyone was, instead of everyone just doing their own thing like normal, like everyone's all spread out, everyone was at this one desk where a guy had the TV playing, and everyone was just there was like 5 or 6 or 7 people all around this one guy's desk. They had this TV at his desk, and everyone was just watching the news that was still going on about 9/11. And then I walk up and I'm like, oh shit, that's what happened. And they're like, everyone turns around, they're like, what, you don't know? And I'm like, well, I'm just finding out. I go, I spent the morning with my kids, and I wasn't watching the news. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, look. And then so I'm watching like CNN or whatever, and they were showing the plane over and over again. They kept showing the plane hit the building, and I was just, like, so I was just sort of, I was seeing that for the first time, after everyone else had been seeing it for hours and hours now. So that's my story about 9/11, how I was just really oblivious to the whole thing until the afternoon. I don't know why the chat does this sometimes. My chat, on my device, where it just keeps scrolling, and then once it scrolls to the top, everything at that point disappears, and I can't scroll back. So, anyhow, I know VD Hertz was talking about his experience, but now it disappeared. I can't read it. Christian Wayne says, thank you, Susie. I will never forget. Michael Andrews says, we lost over 3,000 because of religious extremists, nut jobs. VD Hertz says, Greg and I shared a passion of working on cars, restoring cars. He was restoring a classic fire truck at the time. We brought our chrome to the same restorer. Wow. So this was your friend that you lost on 9/11. That's pretty sad. Jen up the base says, Christina Weibel, thank you. I've got my issues, but we are all in the fight of our lives. Stay strong. Josh says, fuck extremist nut jobs. I'm with you, Michael. Christina Weibel says, wow. 007 Kevin didn't know that. Thank you for your information. See, I'm already mid-thread on stuff, so I don't know what that was about. Sandy Foles says, Jen is a bad guy. Sandy, Jen's not a bad guy, all right? He's not a bad guy. Michael McAndrews says, cool, Josh. Roxanne79 says, I was so relieved when my mom retired from flying, so nerve-wracking. Deborah Murphy reports that the Koreans from the Hyundai plant are home with their families. VD Hertz says Trump regime told the South Koreans they could stay. They went home. Yeah, they're probably like, fuck you then. We're not going to be toyed with like this. We're not going to be pawns in your game of your bullshit game. I don't blame them. They're like, going to treat us like that. We might as well just go back to fucking Korea. Nick Rich 951. So I'm about a half hour behind, I guess. Christina Wells says, Sandy, you won't convince me of that. I've never seen any comments from him bullying people. Oh yeah, Sandy, stop it with the Jen hate. Jen is not a bad person. We may have had some, disagreements here and there, but Jen's not a bad person. There's Aaron West. Hey, Aaron, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Do appreciate you, as always. Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, Jen says, Christina, well, I'm not sure why Sandy Foltz thinks that thinks that, but I'm also not going to defend myself over something silly and ludicrous from someone who passes judgment on others every day. Thank you. And then Roxanne says, Sandy Foltz, what are you talking about? Jen is no bad guy. A jokester, yes, and a super kind, supportive, intelligent man. You blocked him. Stop trying to recruit others to. We like him. Yeah, Sandy, just drop it. If you blocked him, so you blocked him. So you don't have to. End of story. End of story. Deborah Murphy says, I remember them landing big planes on Benton, Kansas airport. It was only for biplanes, like the two with the two wings. Mr. Spock says the government knew about 9/11 and did nothing about it. See, now I can't scroll back up. It disappeared. Well, here's what I do know. I know that George W. Bush was a lazy ass who didn't like to read. Kind of sounds familiar, right? Sounds a lot like the current guy we have. And he never read his presidential daily briefings. And if he had, he would have seen that there were reports that terrorists might be planning on using commercial airliners to crash into buildings. And if he had seen that, then maybe he would have said, hey, you know what, let's look into that a little closer. But instead, he said, watch this golf swing of mine. So fuck you, George W. Bush. I was watching the IHIP show, I've had it podcast, and it's the one where they had Chelsea Handler on, and I think it was from a few months ago, and to be fair with Chelsea, she did preface the whole thing with I never liked George W. Bush. I thought he was a horrible president. I thought he was a war criminal. I think she's like not in the past tense. I think she still thinks he was a war criminal and all that. But then I guess she met him at a function, and she said he was very charming now after all these years, and that he would show her like some paintings he did, and he just seemed that she actually kind of liked him, or at least at that function she felt like he was like there was something very charming about him. Don't let him his little paintings and his little goofy grin make you forget, Chelsea, that this guy was a war criminal and an idiot and a moron. And the only thing that keeps him from being named as the worst president in history is Donald Trump. Vinny Hertz, I have no issue how Mussolini died. Michael McAndrew says murder and Nazis are wrong things. And yeah, so Mr. Spock, okay, so he brought up the thing about the government knew. That's why I went on that tangent about W. And I don't, there's all kinds of deep conspiracies on that. But what we do know is that our intelligence agencies did have that briefing. They did have that for the president, for W to read, and he didn't read it. They knew that there was somehow they intercepted you know conversations or whatever, and they knew that there was a possibility of them training or planning to do that. That's as far as I'll go, as far as the government knew. But then the president never did emphasize it, and so it just got put to the bottom of the pile, Hey, Paul Sharky Manion's here. Says, howdy, TJ. Again, the chat's moving pretty fast today, and once it disappears, it's gone, folks. VD Hertz says, this is because Prescott Bush, Henry Ford, and Koch aligned with Hitler during World War II. It aligns perfectly with MAGA today, or MAGA. Why did I say MAGA when I always say MAGA? Catherine Real Health Talk is here. Hey, Catherine, good to see you. Thanks for jumping on in to the Driver's Lounge. Catherine says, 24 years ago, today I was getting ready for work. I saw it on the breaking news on TV, and now it's gone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry the chat is disappearing, guys. I'm sorry. BD Hertz, Charles Lindbergh aligned with Hitler. Yeah, I always thought Charles Lindbergh was an American hero until about maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, or at some point, he found out he was a big fucking Nazi. Josh says, if Jin poops on the floor, TJ will make him feel bad about it. I think I'm mid-thread on that. Yeah, the chat. You guys are chatting up. Good on you for chatting up. I can't even read the thing, and I cannot slow down. Don't tell me to slow down the thing because I can't slow it down. Catherine Real Talk says, hello, back at you. Good to see you. Walk says 79. She's got the zoomies. Okay, it's going too fast for me to read. Nick Rich, 10 a.m. So I'm 26 minutes behind. Christina, well, I'm here. Yeah, I saw you. I think I said hi earlier to you, Christina. I think I read a couple of your posts. Big Hook, the Big Canuck. Onward, Christian Fosters, like faux, Fosters. Jennifer Bay says, Josh, he gives me the proverbial whack on the snout for a lot less than dropping a deuce on the floor. Are you talking about me? Are you, Jen at the base, accusing me of, figuratively whacking you on the nose? I will say one thing. Jen does seem to be kind of thin-skinned, but other than that, not a bully. Jim Farrell says, hi, gang. I did miss the moment of silence or the out loud prayer. By the time I got on, the moment of silence was already done by the time I came on the air. Christina Weil says, Roxanne 79, I was going to ask how it was going with the new puppy. Now, I'm confused. Is Roxanne 79, is it your puppy, or are you like dog sitting all the time? Or is it both? I don't know. Do you have a new puppy and you're doing dog sitting? Because I thought there was some kind of dog sitting thing or something. I don't know. Somehow I am confused. Mr. Spock says, bet South Park is going to have a field day with this. With the Charlie Kirk thing? Maybe? I don't know. Catherine Real Health Talk says, FBI found weapon pictures being passed around of a suspect. So yeah, I did see that the weapon was found. But breaking news. Law enforcement provides an update on the manhunt. That was an hour ago. So yeah, if you guys hear anything, let me know. Susie Jones says, I saw the video. You were spot on, TJ. Thank you, Susie Jones. Thank you for that. Tim Friel says, even South Park has limits, I think. Yeah, we'll see, I guess. Gina Maynard says, Kirk rarely debated adults, farming the debate with college kids, children. Well, if you're over 18, you're not a child, at least legally. You are still young and informative. They say the brain doesn't fully form or something until you're like 25. But I wouldn't call college age people children at that if they're over 18, unless you're like Doogie Howser and you're like 12 and you're admitted to Harvard or whatever horse shirt that was. AM says hello, Tim Farrell. You missed a moment of silence. I don't mean to laugh because we didn't really do that in here. 007 Kevin Slayer says, Susie Jones, I don't trust Cash. It sounds like he's going outside and doing an Oprah. You did it, and you did it, and you did it. I have no proof, but you're alive, right? Well, that's about. Jeff Bay says, Trucker John, God bless you. Sneeze at 10:02. I'm only 29 minutes behind that sneeze, by the way. Paul Sharkey Mannion says, what about Peter Mendelsohn getting the sack? Another Epstein lover. I haven't heard of that. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with who Peter Mendelsohn is. VD Hurt says, wouldn't surprise me if it was Mossad. Who shot Kirk? Mossad agent? Was Charlie Kirk critical of Netanyahu or whatever, or of Israel? Now there are people that are saying that there was two guys standing behind Charlie Kirk and to Charlie Kirk's right. One had a white cap on, and the other guy had a kind of a dark shirt. The guy in the white cap, just tenth of a second or whatever before Kirk got shot, the guy in the white cap, he kind of does one of these type of things, like this. And then the other guy, I don't know if you can see my arm, but then the other guy next to him, he kind of like does one of these. And he's kind of like, it's almost like he's kind of pointing towards Kirk. And he kind of brushes his hand down. And then, boom, So some people are saying that was a signal to the shooter to shoot. But who knows? Suji Jones says his last words, counting or not counting gang violence. Yeah. So then silence forever. So he held onto the mic. Yeah, you can see like he's dripping the mic. But that's just a bodily, I think muscle reaction or whatever. Normal shock. Yeah. But I'm just saying, everything I said, that doesn't mean it was true about, like seeing your whole life or having these thoughts. I'm just saying it just looked like that was like an oh fuck moment. Looked like an oh shit moment, God damn it. Can you guys hear that? Can you hear that? Today's Thursday. Did they come every Thursday? Were they here last Thursday? How long does it take to fucking blow the sidewalk? I mean, it's not like this is Central Park. It's a little tiny little area. How long does it take to fucking blow the fucking leaves out? Anyhow. Vidi here says, I remember the Nicholas Berg video from Iraq and Saddam Hussein's head popping off. I think I saw that. Sandy Foltz, $2 super sticker. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much. Yippee to Sandy. Says, hey, you. Hello, Sandy. I appreciate you. Thanks for supporting the show and helping us out. And as always, I always appreciate it. Stephen Farmer, a good guy with a gun at a MAGA rally. Captain Real Health Talk says, Roxanne, I know it was still a hit, though, I think. See, I'm mid-thread now because the chat, my readout of my chat, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. It scrolls up automatically, and then once it gets to the top, it's just gone. And the reason this is I mention this because sometimes it doesn't do that. It allows me to scroll back at least part way, but some days it doesn't allow me to do it. It just drops right off, and it's really frustrating. BD Hurt says, wouldn't surprise me if Canada banned Kirk from entry. Well, they won't now. I can't think, you guys. I don't know if you guys are realizing the guy with the leaf blower. I don't even know what he's doing. He's like just blowing. There's like little bushes and shit. I don't think they don't. There's nothing to mow. They didn't mow anything. I don't think they trimmed anything. I think he's just blowing dirt around or something. He's just trying to make himself, justify whatever the fees that they charge the complex, I guess. So he's like, I'm going to fire up this leaf blower and make it look like I'm doing something. WW is here. Good to see WW. Thanks for joining us in the old driver's lounge. I do appreciate you for coming on in. Josh says, and we didn't even say Wes 3 times. Yeah, it just came on his own. Susie Jones says, again, I am blocked by Sandy. Sorry, I don't know what to think. Don't worry about it, Susie. If someone blocks you, then don't. I mean, if someone blocks me, I don't even think about it. It's like water off a duck's back to me. So, Mr. Brock says, I'm a mod for a chicken channel. A kid with chickens from Florida. He went live yesterday after it happened. The chat was pro Kirk. Sad disbelief. I kept my mouth shut. Wasn't on for long. Yeah, you got to pick your battles. I mean, but if anyone who's pro Charlie Kirk, then you gotta ask yourself, why? I mean, you need to have a come to Jesus moment. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I a bigot? Am I racist? Am I a misogynist? Because if you were like a supporter, or at least you agreed with Charlie Kirk, you subscribed to his channels, and you were digging what he was saying, then you are probably a misogynist, bigoted, racist, homophobic piece of shit, just like he was. Sandy Foltz, it was 24 years ago. Yep, that's what it was. 24 years ago. Next year will be the 25th, and I guess they're planning on doing more things because it's more of a milestone anniversary, There's Nick Rich with $1 super chat. Thank you, Nick Rich. Yippee! Going out to Nick Rich for that $1 super chat sticker thingy. I don't even know the difference, but thank you, Nick Rich. I do appreciate you. Thanks for helping out and donating to the show as always. Always appreciated. Susie Joe says, VD Hertz. Yeah, we're cool. Hi. Tim Lightstar 01 is in the chat. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming on in. I do appreciate you for coming on in. Coming on in to the driver's lounge. Michael McAndrew says, I don't give a fuck if someone blocks me. Yeah, me too. I mean, if they do, they do. If they, I don't take it personally, or, although it can be confusing if, let's say, like everyone is saying so and so said something, or and not even if it's about you, but they're just answering or talking about a subject that a certain person might be talking about, and you're like, I can't see that, and then you're like, did that person block me? Why? Apparently, so that's when it could be a little like you're like you didn't even know that person blocked you, and then everyone is having a conversation with that person, but you can't see, that person, what that person is posting. Then I can see how that could be a little kind of confusing or disconcerting. Is that? But other than that, I don't really worry about it. Gina Maynard says more like a lawn and border president. Roxanne 79 says, Josh, really, that's odd. I wonder if it was an accident. I put the show in my pocket and I almost blocked people that way. Put it on your screensaver when you put it in your pocket. Susie Jones says, Roxanne 79, I guess it's mutual. She can't see me either. I'm not going to be worried about it. Yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? VD Hertz says, 10 Light Star 01 was, yes, there is hope and your mind to take action to better yourself. See, I'm so mid-thread. I'm missing so much of the conversations. I'm really mid-thread. David Dog says there's two problems with blocking people. Half the people don't even know they're blocked, and the other half doesn't give a shit. WW says right now, VD Hertz seems to have me blocked, and I'm fine with that, laughing out loud. Josh says, Roxanne, I almost blocked and reported you once when I spilled a drop of water on my phone. I'm almost tempted to stick my head out the door and tell the guy to get the fuck out of here with the fucking leaf blowing. There's nothing to blow, dude. That's what she said. My God, you would think that this was, I don't know, 100 yards of fucking shit to blow. It's a little tiny like strip area of some vegetation. God, guy. WW exactly, dog. You can only tell if someone else is chatting with an invisible participant. Boy, who knew that being blocked was going to be the major conversation of the chat today, with 9/11 and Charlie Kirk and going on, and the main conversation is about being blocked. Tim Farrell says, I fear for the left political personalities. MAGA thrives on the belief of retribution is a duty. After the Jan 6 pardon, there is little fear of justice for acting. Yeah, they've been given kind of like free reign. Trump has given the Jan 6ers free reign. That's why I think a lot of them are ICE agents now. WW says, yesterday I was blocking everybody with insane speech or redundant emojis. You're just on a blocking tear, huh? Josh says, Sandy, I have a daughter who just started college. Oh, that's right. Michael McAndrews, how do you unblock someone? We've talked about that yesterday. You go into your settings and there's a way, and someone even put a link to it one time, and it's not that hard, but I can't explain it. I don't know why 10 Light Star 01 said VD Hertz, your future is homeless. See, I'm mid-thread, so I don't even know what's going on. BD Hertz says Tim Farrell agreed. I fear for the senator. I re-elect Bernie Sanders. That's what I was talking about yesterday. You know, who's next? What's next? I don't even want to talk about it. Mad Max, Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini to you. Back at you. Mr. Spock, is someone talking to WW? I can't see him. I didn't block him. VD Hertz, 10 Light Star 01. I have no idea what you're chatting about. Certainly not what Trugger John is discussing. Be well. Yeah, I don't know what that was about either. But between my chat disappearing and the goddamn leaf blower, guys, I'm totally out of sorts. By the way, it's amazing how usually I don't get distracted. Like I can usually listen to music and I can do stuff or whatever. But it's amazing how this fucking leaf blower is totally fucking me up. David Granbury, Texas says Texas Republicans are using the Charlie Kirk. Now it disappeared. See, I can't fucking read it. Josh says I don't even block trolls because the dumbassery amuses me. David Knox says Michael, on your Google account page, swipe over to people and sharing, and your block list is there. VD Hertz says I block folks who disparage Ukraine, Zelensky. Tin Light Star 01, VD Hertz, I heard him mention January 6th. Is that all you heard? Would that perk your ears up? Christina Weibel says if I block someone, there's usually a damn good reason to. Janet Bay says 10 Light Star 01, VD was trying to offer you words of encouragement to help you try to help yourself to improve your current situation. Attacking VD doesn't do you any good. Unless you've got penicillin. Nick Rich says, Wes says he didn't block you, Mr. Spock. Well, the blocking, yeah, we're more blocking chat. Roxanne79 says, I block bot trolls, but now I like to talk shit to the other ones that use complete sentences. And you know why? Because we're going to talk some shit. We're going to talk a little smack. Anyhow, Mr. Spock says, I was eyeballing a running gag starting. Or no, I see. What? Why did I change C to was? I see a running gag starting. WW says, you just made me go to Google and see if I had anybody blocked. Oh, you did that on your own, Wes. No one made you do anything. Paul Sharkey Mannion from across the pond says that scumbag Tim Piss in the Pool is claiming that the bullet shells had trans logos on them. And Tim Pool has to say that because when you're on Vladimir Putin's payroll, if you don't say what they tell you to say, you end up with a severe case of gravity sickness. Tin Light Star 01 says, Gen of the Base, you are attacking me now over my... Okay, just stop it. Just stop it. I know I'm a half hour behind, but just stop it, guys. Not guys. I don't think Jen's doing anything wrong, but Tin Light Star 01, just stop. It's ridiculous. VD Hertz says, Gen of the Base, thank you. I deal with this every 1 year since 2001. Every year since 2001. Tim Farrell says, VD Hertz, I think Bernie is safe. He supports gun rights and is actually appreciated by MAGA as an anti-establishment type who calls out the Dems a lot. Catherine Real Health Talk says, Jen, there are better ways to phrase to someone trying to survive abuse. Okay, so I've missed a lot of the chat. I don't know what you guys are saying. Just keep it civil. WW, nobody's safe. Tim Farrell. Josh says TJ's hat has me convinced that our next aircraft carrier needs to be named after Springsteen. I know you always think it's an aircraft carrier. It's like a kind of a silhouette of Springsteen leaning up against a car, like a classic kind of car, I guess. James Jaramillo says that Paul Sharkey Mannion sounds like a setup coming. VD Hertz says, yes, my friend Greg Sikorsky. Plenty of info about him online. NYC fireman, former USA Marine. One of those lost on 9/11. And a friend of VD Hertz. Roxanne79 says, Lightyear, no one's attacking you, just giving you some advice. Christina Weigel says, I think I'm leaving chat, John. Well, all right. If you have to, you can come back. I'll probably be here for another hour and a half or whatever. Want to come back? Okay, I'm not going to continue reading that little argument that's going on, especially since I'm probably a half hour behind, and it might be all cleared up by now. And then if I read it, it might rehash it, or it might restart it. So I'm kind of going to skip over this kind of bickering that's going on. BD Hertz says, I was a student teacher in high school. Greg was a student in the class Power Mechanics. Susie Jones says, Jesus, they are appointing 600 JAG officers as immigration judges. The rule used to be must have 10 years experience, not anymore. Not in this kakistocracy that is the Trump administration, right? Tim Farrell says, Vita Hertz, I leave when the Russian apologists are here. If they don't get blocked or moderated out, I unsubscribe. I don't know if we have any Russian apologists in here, do we? Josh says, Wes, I will stand on that hill, but not going to die on it. You're just going to stand on it. Christine, well, I'm here, but I'm going to keep my comments to myself now. Roxanne says, Chris, why would you leave, hon? Got other things. Nick Rich says, being blocked feels like an honor when those who do it, and then it disappeared. Video here says, Tim Farrell W says there are Nazis in Ukraine. Putin doesn't even claim that anymore. None of them are in Ukraine parliament. I had to block him. Oh, yeah, W does say some really insanely stupid things at sometimes. Nick Rich, 20 past the hour. I'm still 32 minutes behind. Crusader Rival says, no, Roxanne, I'm just sick of people not cooperating with each other. This is exactly what they want. They want us to not cooperate with one another. Well, they do want us, who's the they? But I guess the right-wingers, the Putins of the world, they do want us fighting each other and being at odds with one another. They're doing the same thing. It's the same. Putin and Russia, their hands are in everything. They're in Brexit. I believe they're in Ireland. It's causing trouble there because Belfast Bob talks about that. And I think they're in Poland. Poland, they just elected a new premier or president, whatever they call it, leader. Their leader is a fucking right winger. And there's evidence, or I don't know if it's evidence, but to me, there's signs of the Putin MO of interfering with elections, at least as far as disinformation and misinformation campaigns. So now Poland has this right-wing leader, and that's why I think Putin wasn't afraid to drop some drones into and blow up a couple buildings. I think on Poland land inside of Poland, because he knows he already has Trump in his back pocket, and Trump's not going to do anything. And now he's got the this Polish leader that's not going to do anything. So I don't know how I got on this tangent, but I forget what chat I read that got me on that tangent. And it's just, I'm just still frustrated with the leaf blower and with the chat disappearing in front of my eyes. Damon Dog, love pumps on iHip. Catherine Real Hot Talk says there was an FBI guy trying to warn the White House for weeks. He was fired. Then 9/11 happened. Yeah, there were people trying to warn, and W wanted nothing of it. Either because he was just stupid and lazy, or because they wanted to let it happen, so they would have an excuse. That, you know, Dick Cheney, let's face it, was basically running the country. Dick Cheney wanted to have an excuse to start up the war and really wind up in Iraq, fighting Iraq and getting the oil from Iraq. I think that was the whole thing. Regime change and getting the oil and all that kind of stuff. Billy Hirsch says Roxanne 79, almost like a major source of evil vitriol gone had something to do with it. Christian Wiles says, Sandy, I can block you for what you're saying. See, I missed a lot of that stuff. The chat just disappeared, and I don't know what Sandy is saying. But Sandy, please just stop whatever it is. Okay, I already told you. I don't know if you're talking about Jen. I have no issue with Jen. I have no problem or issue with Jen. So, that if that's, I don't even know if that's where the argument or whatever is still going to, because like I said, I can't go back in the chat. I guess we're talking about infighting, both in this chat and in I think in whole, about Americans fighting each other, or being in disarray and all this stuff, and then these other countries, and this is that's how I got on the Putin thing. A lot of this stuff goes back to Russia and to Putin. And I don't know if it's not in the chat, but so much, but in just in the country as a whole. WW, so much for deals with South Koreans. Well, yeah, Trump blew that up. MJ Daniel says VP Al Gore had just been put in charge of improving airport security, but never got the chance because of Bush. Catherine Real Hot Talk says George W. was and is a scumbag. Yeah, definitely a war criminal. Worst president ever until Trump. Hey, there's Bethany Arbaugh, S. Arbaugh. Hey, Bethany, good to see you again. It says, hi, Trucker John. Never forget what happened this day. I was going to a job interview. Wow. Were you in New York at the time? Going to a job interview? Were you actually there in New York City? Wow. Susie Jones says $500 billion of investment proof. Oh, is the whole plant shutting down? Or are they going to try to bring like new people in, other people in? Let's see. Nick Rich says YouTube blocks across all channels. If you block someone, if it only lasted 24 hours, folks might be surprised who they've blocked inadvertently. Christian Weibel says, Susie Jones, love you too. Hugs and hugs to my family here. Mr. Spock says Condoleezza's testimony was the highly credible Israeli intelligence was deemed not credible and ignored it. To what end? I think they wanted I think Bush and Cheney, basically Cheney, I think wanted an excuse to go to war. And they went to Iraq, which a lot of us were. I mean, they went to Afghanistan, which a lot of us were in favor of, because I was like, yeah, let's go get fucking Bin Laden and those assholes. And I was all for going into Afghanistan, but then all of a sudden they went into Iraq, and I was like, wait a minute, why are we doing that for? And that was really, I think, that was the thing that they really wanted. Cheney did. Catherine Real Health Talk, 9/11 was allowed to happen. Yeah, I think it was too. WW says Monday share, or I don't know. I was teaching. The word was spread that we were not supposed to let the kids know. Yeah, for young kids, probably not a good idea if they're really young. Sonny Fold says, I was just speaking my piece, how I feel about being harassed by someone on here. You would do the same if it was happening to you. I'm sorry that you feel that you're being harassed, Sandy. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the harassment other than people just saying, like, why are you complaining about Jen or whatever? But okay, you've said I think you've said your piece. And if you want to block somebody, block them. But then you don't have to keep telling us that you blocked somebody. Okay, you just block them and move on. Is what I think I said that earlier. I think I said that a half hour ago. Just block them and move on. We don't need to hear every 2 seconds about you blocking somebody. Okay? We don't need to make this a bigger deal than it needs to be. Susie Jones says, with Tulsi, we have zero credible intelligence coming in for the foreseeable future, even past this administration. Yeah, it's going to take God only knows how long to restore any type of credibility or trust. The rest of the world will have trust issues for a long, long time. Even if we get really good people in there, they will always feel that they're only one election away from it going back to some shitty administration, like Trump, like the Trump administration. So yeah, because we've had a pretty good run of having pretty good foreign relations since World War II, since after World War II, and we had a lot of bonds, with the Allies and everything, and not saying that we're not ever going to be able to work with, our partners, European partners, and other partners across the globe. But they're always going to look at us with that jaundiced eye. They're always going to be, like I said, they'll always know that whatever agreements or pacts or whatever that we make, it's only going to be as good as that until that next election. Whereas before, things would carry over. When it came to the foreign relations and working with other countries, and all that kind of diplomacy, like I said, probably since after World War II, those things held up regardless of administration change and regardless of Democrat or Republican being in charge or in power. Most of our agreements with other countries and with our allies, they either stayed the same or they improved. I mean, there was I think for the most part, I could be wrong, but I think for the most part it was pretty solid, and most of our main changes would be domestically when you go from Republican to Democrat and back and forth. But on the world stage, our agreements were pretty much intact and good and reliable, regardless of that regime change. But not no more. Not since Trump. Trump, when he even in his first term, he destroyed all these agreements and things that we had, a lot of them, you know, and he's doing it again. So yeah, it's going to take a lot, you know, to get back, and we may never get back fully as far as that trust and credibility with the rest of the world is concerned. And, you know, all we can do is the best we can do, I guess. Catherine Real Hot Talk says, TJ, let's try this again. 24 years ago today, I was getting ready for work. Saw breaking news in the morning. From the first second I knew a commercial plane into the most famous skyscrapers in the world was too big to be an accident. Yeah, and I know certainly the reports at first, you know, were that it was an accident, and I can see how people would report that or think that, you know, I mean, who's going to fly a plane into the building? But you know, and then 20 minutes later or 15 minutes later, it happened again, and then then everyone's like, "Oh fuck, no, this is not an accident. This is intentional," and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, what is going on?" And that even though for me it was a delayed response because I didn't really see any of that until hours later, but still I was watching. It was on a loop. The whole thing was like on a loop, and so I was watching it in the afternoon, and basically, you know, no one was coming in to buy cars that day, so we were all just sitting and watching the news all day at the car lot there. You know, no one. It was 9/11 was like even you know we're way in California, other side of the country, and even for us, it was like you know. It was this day of infamy. This day, it was like a day of shock. Everyone was in shock. Even though I was in real time, I was completely oblivious. But then in the afternoon, as I was watching it, I was just like, "Oh my god!" And we were all just kind of in silence, sitting in silence, just watching CNN all day. You know? Roxanne 79, Sandy, okay, I'm not going to keep reading this back and forth. Like I said, okay, you guys, apparently Sandy doesn't like Jen. Fine, you blocked him, and it's over, Sandy. Okay, move on. MoveOn.org. Gina Maynard, just like how we decrypted Japan's purple code and had some inklings of Pearl Harbor a few weeks ahead of time. They weren't definitive, just like 9/11. I'm no fan of Bush, though. He was lazy. Yeah, Bush was lazy. He didn't really want to be president. The only reason they put him up was because of the name recognition. Dick Cheney really wanted to be president, and Dick Cheney really, I think, ran the country. DPD 5844 is here. Hey, DPD, good to see you. DPD says, did anyone see Peter? Oh, no, did anyone see Patel? I gotta get new glasses. Did anyone see Patel fired the Muslim FBI director for the Utah office? She had over 27 years of experience in counterterrorism. They fired her because of her race and because she doesn't have a penis. I did see that. I saw that yesterday in all the Charlie Kirk coverage, and because there were some questions about sort of there not being security, adequate security, and why wasn't the FBI maybe checking this out or scoping this out more like ahead of time, and the response afterwards was kind of slow by the FBI, and there was miscommunications we saw between Kash Patel and what was actually going on out there in the field. And he was posting stuff like, "Oh, they got the guy," when really they didn't have the guy. So there was all this miscommunication going on, and then that's when I saw the little report about the firing of the former head of that district, that FBI district or whatever it was called, bureau or something, and well, not bureau, but because it is the bureau. But yeah, I saw that yesterday. And then in today's intro, it touched on again about how basically Patel has been ordered from the White House to fire people who have lots of years of experience. They have stellar records. Their employment records with the FBI. They have, they've been awarded, citations and all this kind of stuff. And they're firing them just because either they don't like their nationality, or they may have said something that was contrary to what Trump wanted. They weren't, being sufficiently loyal. And Patel is firing these people just at the behest of Trump, and it's really stupid. It's just more stupidity in our government right now under this Trump administration. Just total stupidity and ignorance run amok. I know I'm 39 minutes behind in the chat, by the way. 39 minutes. WW, why would Mossad hate Charlie? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. DPD, what about the visceral venom coming from the Nazi fascist white nationalist regime of pedophiles, and yet people still claim it's both sides? What the fuck? I don't know what you mean claiming it's both sides. I didn't see. I've seen people just say that it's all left wing. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to skip quite a bit down in the chat since I'm 39 minutes behind. So I will be skipping a lot of your guys' chats, and I apologize, but I don't like being 39 minutes behind. So I'm kind of skipping down. WW leaf blower sounded like a saw. That thing was loud, wasn't it? I think he's finally fucking done. And there's nothing. There's nothing out there. I mean, there's a bunch of bushes and shit, but I don't know. I don't know what they're blowing. You guys can't. Damon said he couldn't hear it, but man, it was distracting. Gina Maynard says British PM Keir Starmer doesn't seem to hesitate in firing members of his cabinet party when they step out of line. I guess that's good, right? I think that's good. Yeah, DPD says it would not shock me at all if the regime planned the whole thing, giving them their ultimate wet dream to engage in the civil war. A lot of people have shared that sentiment, and that was one of my first thoughts, that this was Trump put the hit out on him, on Charlie. And then he comes out and he's like, oh, that's why he kind of overdoes the, it's kind of like, I think we've seen mafia movies where a mafia Don will put a hit on someone, and then after they do that, just gush about how what a great person that they were. That's what it reminded me of. David Dog, yay, 21 views on my YouTube short. Oh, that's right. I did see way earlier, and then it disappeared. But I guess Damon's making some videos on is it on your pipes, your glass pipes and stuff. So so if you have a chance to check those out, go check them out. Roxanne79 says I can scroll back to the top on my phone and iPad. That's strange. It gets stuck. Maybe because you're running the show. Yeah, I don't know. WW, breathe, John. If it's that bad, relax. You relax. You relax. Don't tell me to relax. WW, I did do a test. Jolie helped. It was public, but it was nonsense, so I made it private. See, I'm mid-thread. Nick, when I skip, I'm going to be mid-thread. Because I did read the one where Nick said John should skip and not worry about it. Okay, I'll do that, but just know I'm going to be a mid-thread on a lot of conversations here. AM says I will be binge watching shows on Netflix until the whole Charlie Kirk killing blows over. I went ahead and binge watched yesterday the rest of the episodes of Wednesday, season 2. So I finished up season 2 of Wednesday, and they said there will be another season of Wednesday. So that's what I watched on Netflix, and I did finish season 2 of House of Cards. Also, I finished that up. So now I guess that was season 2, right? So now I'll be going into season 3 of House of Cards. It's actually a pretty good show because I had never watched it before. Like even when it was new, I think I had watched a few episodes of season 1, but I just never was able to stick with it because of I was driving the truck and I was gone a lot, and just I just wasn't able to keep up with it. But it didn't really, I don't know. Then I kept hearing it was very famous and very I guess critically acclaimed, and it seemed to be a very popular show. But from what I had seen, what I remember seeing of it, it just was like a okay show or whatever. But now that I'm watching it and I'm 2 seasons into it, I'm like, wow, this is a pretty good show. It is a pretty good show. And I know Kevin Spacey, we know that what he turned out to be in real life, but I am able to divorce myself from that, knowing that at the time, none of us knew who Kevin Spacey was. So I'm able to watch the show and enjoy the show and enjoy his performance. But that doesn't mean that I condone anything that Kevin Spacey later turned out to be, guilty of doing when it comes to like sexual assault or harassment or whatever it was that he was doing. To me, I'm going to watch the show. I'm not going to let that ruin it for me. Let's see. We got 007 Kevin Trollslayer says, I got freebie stickers and stuck them in my room. Bought a witness book and graphic novels of writers and superheroes. I don't know, avenging victims? See, I'm mid-thread, guys. I'm really mid-thread. Suzanne Forestepi is here. Hey, Suzanne, good to see you. Greetings from Galveston, Texas to everyone. Greetings right back at you, Suzanne. Very nice to see you here in the driver's lounge today. W says, hey, Anthony, long time no see. Could that be Anthony Reminiak? Is Anthony Reminiak? Yeah, there's Anthony. I am able to scroll back a little bit now. Anthony's here. It is letting me scroll back now. See, now it's doing it where I can scroll back quite a ways. But before it wasn't letting me, and it was just gone. Anyhow, so Anthony's here, Susanna's here. Thanks for coming on in, hanging out with us on this 9/11, this day of remembrance. Let's all just hang out. Roxanne says my screensaver cuts the show off. Not an option. I get pissed when it goes to screensaver. All right. I thought there was a setting or something where you could have where the show would stay on. I think mine does that. Where I can keep the show on even if I just like turn the screen off or whatever on my phone. But maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I did and now I don't, and then I don't know how, and I forgot or something. Oh yeah, Boston Brian came on 20 minutes ago. I guess you guys like Boston Brian better than like me, so you're probably all over there by now. I don't know if you guys. I'm not going to worry about if I cross over in the Boston Brian. He doesn't seem to care about stepping on anybody else's show, so I'm not going to really care about stepping on his show. Damon Dog says, send them to my house. I have lots of shit to blow around. Oh, the leaf blowers, 100-year-old oak trees everywhere. Yeah, they should send them to you because they don't really need them here. Skipping down in the chat, I guess, is Robert Perez here? There's Robert Perez. Hello, Robert Perez from down in San Diego way. Good to see you. Robert says, where's it at? Oh, it says, hello, Trucker John. I think Karma hit Charlie Kirk right in the neck. Yeah. And TJ, can you call management and complain? No, I would, but they're not going to do anything. They're going to say, we have our landscaping crew come out every week, and these are not like during quiet hours. It's 11 o'clock a.m. here. They're going to tell me to go pound sand. But then I could go, don't you realize I'm doing the Trucker John live stream right now? Do you know who I am? Property manager? Do you know who you're dealing with right now? I'm Trucker John. Get your goddamn leaf blowers the fuck out of here. That's what I should do. I should probably do that. I should go storming into the office and pound my fist on the desk and go, do you know who I am? Have you heard of a little thing called the Trucker John live stream? Oh, I'm sure you have. Don't play. Don't pretend like you haven't. I know you've heard of the Trucker John live stream. Right now we're live. And your goddamn leaf blowers are you're distracting me. Why didn't I think of that? I should have done that. Maybe next week. Lynn says, I'm using a Chromebook and I can't hear any leaf blowing. Well, I'm glad. Because I have this mic on, and I guess the mic is good at just, catching whatever's like just a few inches away from it. But that doesn't mean I can't hear it, and it was just distracting the holy hell out of me. And but I took a deep breath and I relaxed, and everything was fine. Everything was fine. At some point in the show, I usually start leaning back in the chair because I get tired of leaning forward. And then I have to pick up my chopstick mic and hold it. Actually hold the damn thing. I probably don't. I probably really don't even need the mic to be this close to me. Catherine Real Health Talk says, even though it was Charlie Kirk, murder is wrong. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And this is what I was saying yesterday. I do not condone this action, and I think it's horrible. I don't think we should celebrate it. I think it's bad. It's bad all the way around. And I said that then, and I'll say it again. Okay, I'm skipping on down. WWE says on the big sites where there are 100 participants, but half of them are speaking a foreign language, and half of the English speakers are using mostly the same set of emojis over and over. See, I'm mid-thread. I don't know what that was about. John Glad's here. Hey, always glad to see John Glad. Says bid 7 was a controlled demolition. Building 7, no, it wasn't. That's horse shit. Fucking horse shit. Horse shit. I've seen all the Alex Jones videos. I've seen all the conspiracy videos. I've had at-length conversations with my right-wing brother about it. It's horse shit. It was not. Although, I don't know. I don't think it was. You're free to believe whatever you want to believe, but I don't think it was. But the way they do make these videos, it can look pretty convincing. Like the other two towers went, and so I've seen it where they believe that the other two towers did fall because of the airplanes and the heat of the jet fuel, and it weakened the frames of the building so much that it started collapsing and pancaking on itself. And then there were I don't know, government, I guess it's like a government thing or whatever, that said, well, since this is happening, we might as well take down building 7 because it's got secrets in there we don't want anyone to see, or whatever it was. I forget what the conspiracy was. I don't know, but I don't believe it. Vidi Hertz says, crazy thing is I went to college with Michael Cohen. He was an arrogant F then. No surprise he went to work for Trump. And I still have problems with Cohen. I mean, I'm glad that he has turned a new leaf, apparently. And I appreciate his coming out against Trump and taking every shot at him, figuratively at Trump that he can, and exposing Trump for all the lies. I appreciate all of that. But he has his own shows, I guess, on through the Midas Touch Network or whatever, and he does a lot of stuff on those shows. And like I said, I appreciate his sort of mea culpa. I guess that was his book, right? But still, a part of me is like, if you hadn't got caught, let's say, doing this shit, you would still be the fucking shitbag that you were. The only reason you've changed is because you got caught. And so good thing for, that's something to be said about the justice system, and about, why maybe it's important to catch people who do crimes and to convict them, because maybe it will change them, especially if you're in the limelight, like Cohen was in the limelight for this whole thing. But still, whenever I see him, I'm always like, dude, if you hadn't got caught with this whole thing, you would be just as much of a dirty fucking shitbag as you were, before all those years. But still, I appreciate him, at least coming around and trying to expose, if for no other reason on his part, because he hates Trump and he wants revenge on him, then so be it. Hey, Richard, the expat in Australia is here. Good to see you, Richard. Thanks for coming in. 3:54 a.m. for Richard out there in Australia. So bright and early. Mr. Sparks, your truckers on is correct. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. I don't know what I'm correct about, but I'll take it. I will take it. Squirrel Girl's here. Hey, Squirrel Girl, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Says, hi, chat. I've been listening and lurking. My kids gave me a very nice cold, and I'm so miserable. I'm too miserable to chat. Hugs to all. Yeah, kids are very giving in that way, aren't they? They They go to school and get sick and then bring it home and get you sick. Lovely little gifts our children give us, especially in those grade school years, it seems like. Josh says Leif Erikson was born at the wrong time. Guy would be raw from all the blowers out there. WW says the drones were, according to the news, not armed. They were decoys. I didn't hear that, but I did hear that one of the drones hit. Well, there was a drone. Oh, I guess that was that hit Kyiv, so that was in Ukraine. That where the warhead didn't detonate, but that was a different thing. The ones that landed in Poland, I don't know. I didn't hear that they weren't armed. I did not hear that. So I'm not sure. But it does look like, because they were trying, there were some reports or some people were trying to say that it was just, these were just off target, or that, these were accidental. They were aiming for Ukraine, but then they went, too far and went into Poland. But then you can see they have these, they can track all this shit, and they can see the trajectory. They see that they went past and looped around and then into Poland. And it looks very intentional. Whether or not they were armed or not, it is very intentional. And it was certainly a test to see how Poland would react and how the United States is going to react. And so far, they haven't done its shit. So that's what Putin wanted. He wanted to find out what he can get away with. And apparently, he can get away with just about anything. At least as far as Poland now is concerned and the United States is concerned, which is really sad. Richard says there's no way 2 planes can take down the Twin Towers. Well, I disagree. I don't believe that there were charges put in there. I don't believe any of that shit. VD Hertz says, Richard, each plane had a full tank of fuel, enough to take them across the USA. Yeah, that's jet fuel, and when it's on fire, it's like thousands of degrees, or shit. I mean, VD Hertz, USA allowed 9/11 to happen. They knew it when they arrested Zacharias Moussaoui a month prior. And so what is the motivation if they knew it was going to happen? And then even, let's say it for sure got up to Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice, and what's his face? The fucker, I forget his name now, with the glasses, the dude, the defense secretary at that time. God, I hate it when I forget names. They certainly knew. I don't know if they kept this from Trump, but he just didn't give. I mean, from Bush, and he just didn't give a fuck, because basically he was. I think he was completely fine with just letting Cheney do everything, and then just bringing him in to rubber stamp shit, or to actually verbalize whatever they needed to do. He was completely fine with just being their puppet. But so I have to ask myself, why would they allow this to happen? And the only thing I can really come up with is that Dick Cheney wanted the regime change and to be able to take control of the area for his own gain. I mean, he owned or he was a big stockholder, and I think on the board, or maybe CEO, I don't know, of why am I not remembering the name of that company? It started with an H, the H company. I mean, it was all for commercial gain, monetary gain, and then Dick Cheney has the nerve now, and Liz Cheney, but even Dick Cheney, to come out like against Trump, like they're any better than Trump in that regard. Okay, I'm skipping down, guys. I know I'm 55 minutes behind in the chat. Richard said JFK was killed by CIA and the mafia. I don't know. I don't think that Oswald acted alone. I don't believe that. I do believe that my belief is that JFK was killed because of his views on the military-industrial complex and how he wanted to shut that down, and he didn't really want to. I think go into Vietnam anymore, and I think that was why he was killed. Who actually did it? I don't know. I don't think Oswald. I think Oswald was up there, and I think he fired the bullets. I think he fired bullets out of his gun. I don't know if he actually hit Kennedy or not. I think that was from the grassy knoll, that the bullets that killed Kennedy. But who knows, man? I mean, I'm just kind of talking out my ass, Now, here's VD. Here it says JFK was killed by Oswald. This is VD's, opinion, and this is backed up by, the official story. JFK. So VD here it says JFK was killed by Oswald. It was allowed to happen. CIA agents trailed Lee Harvey across the USA. He went to radio station interview to radio interview. They even debated him. Wow. The useful patsy, right? Josh says, can we quit with the 9/11 conspiracy crap and just agree that it was preventable if our multiple intelligence agencies had shared information and preemptively acted accordingly? Well, I mean, once we start talking about 9/11, I guess it's kind of inevitable that we're going to have conspiracy theories pop up. But let's just, I always sort of agree to disagree when it comes to this. Oh, man. Because I do think that there are some questionable things, some hinky things. I do think that there is evidence that our intelligence agencies did know of at least the planning or the Taliban. I guess it was the Taliban then. It was on their list of things to do, or about training, or finding out about or planning for flying planes into buildings in America. I think we know that pretty well. I think that's pretty well established, that the Taliban was at least practicing for that or planning it out, and that we knew that they were planning for it, or we might not have known the exact dates or the exact places, but we knew that was on their to-do list, their things to do, like planning and learning how to fly an airplane. It's funny, these guys, they were using simulators, as it turns out, and figuring out like how to fly the planes. They didn't give a rat's ass about learning how to land it, right? They only wanted to know, like, once it was up in the air, how to fly it and steer it, and that's all they needed to know. But as far as anything other than that, like that we did know there was this planning going on, or that there was a possibility that there might be something that they would do. I don't know if we knew the times and the dates and the exact locations. I don't know how much we knew, but we did know something was up, and we should have investigated it more, and we didn't, apparently. And why not? And a lot of that comes from, I think, the Oval Office should have made that an emphasis. But they didn't because, well, number one, George W. Bush didn't give a fuck, and number two, Cheney was probably going, maybe this could work out for us. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of speculation. But I don't think we need to be at each other's throats about it. You know what I mean? I think we all agree it was horrible. We lost a lot of good Americans, innocent people. A lot of people have been affected by this. All the survivors, all the surviving family members. Children and spouses and parents. Friends. It was just a really horrible thing, and that I think could have been avoided. Why it wasn't taken care of or done with, that's the speculation part, I guess. But I think it could have been avoided if we had had an administration in the White House that either A, wasn't lazy and gave a fuck, or on the other side of it wasn't in some sort of conspiracy. VD here says, watch Frontline, the man who knew John P. O'Neill. Gina Maynard says in World War II, George H.W. Bush flew 58 missions as a naval aviator, and Nixon was a naval logistics officer. They were political allies. I am kind of mid-thread, by the way, so if I just pluck something out, it can seem a little almost non sequitur. Although that I'm not saying that is, but I'm just saying that I'm kind of plucking things out mid-thread. Like here, Richard says Melania is a gold digger. She made her bed and now she has to lay in it. Josh says Spock, the 19 stay grow trimmer is $125. See, so we're talking about George H.W. Bush and Nixon, and we're talking about Melania, and we're talking about the stay grow trimmer. Hey, Teresa TAK is here. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Thanks for coming on into the old driver's lounge. I do appreciate you for coming on in. VD Hurt says, I was asked by a professor when I felt the GOP went fascist, was there a specific event? VD Hurt says, I believe it was when Eisenhower wanted to choose a new VP for his second term, not Nixon again. The party said no. So way back then. Certainly, Kennedy winning in 1960 put a little wrinkle in their plans. And I know I'm using the they, but that unknown they of whoever that is, but they were so upset because I think they had a path for Nixon to be VP and then to be president in 1960 and really start, get the fascism rolling, right? I kind of agree with you, VD. The plan was, to get Nixon in there in 60. But then, Kennedy was the fly in the ointment. And then, Kennedy won, and then Kennedy was very popular. And so by 63, they're like, looks like Kennedy's going to get a second term. And who knows what he's going to do. There's going to be, he's not going into Vietnam fast enough or whatever. I don't know. And so whoever that they is, that magical they is, they put an end to Kennedy, and then but now the country was so, I think, in shock, and then Johnson became president and really got us into Vietnam strong. Like, I mean, full blow, full force. And while Johnson was able to get a lot of things that Kennedy was working on, as far as and would have done if he had lived, like civil rights and equal rights and Medicare and all that kind of stuff. Johnson was able to get those through and complete Kennedy's kind of legacy there. But then he also got us, deeply in the war, and he was kind of being the good soldier. And then it looked like, Robert Kennedy was going to run in '68, or he was running, and he was doing very, very well. It looked like he was going to be for sure. He was well on his way to getting the nomination, Democratic nomination. And I think the they was like, you know what, we can't have another Kennedy derailing. We want Nixon in there. Nixon's our boy, and so they got rid of Kennedy, another Kennedy again. They just repeated history, just repeated itself, except they got rid of Kennedy before he won the election this time. They're like, let's nip this in the bud, and they got rid of Kennedy. The next Kennedy, the next time they got rid of him, and that paved the way for Nixon. But Nixon was a drunk. Nixon was a crook, and he was surrounded by crooks, and so that was eventually his undoing. Anyhow, let's move on. Let's move on. I guess there was some talk about Springsteen. Mad Max says, play your Trucker John song for those property managers. Yeah. Josh, Spock, I'll remember to give you my review when I use it. I guess we're talking about that trimmer or thing or whatever. I did skip down, and I am kind of mid-thread here, guys. Richard says RFK Jr. is an anti-vaccine guy. He is a dangerous guy. Absolutely. RFK Jr.'s tenure or as HHS has already caused death, unnecessary death. Mad Mac, just duct tape your microphone to your chest. I don't want to duct tape my microphone to my chest. I don't want to do that because it might push the button, the on-off button or something. It's not as easy as you'd think. Teresa TK, I agree with Trucker John about Charlie Kirk. Killing him was wrong. Well, I think almost every reasonable person believes that. I think almost everyone in this chat believes that it was wrong. We all believe it was wrong. I just don't like to see Charlie Kirk, being eulogized and memorialized as though he was some sort of saint or something, and he wasn't. And as in Texas Paul and some of the others in the intro stated, Charlie Kirk was a horrible person, and that's how he should be remembered. But no one, I don't think anyone is condoning this or anything like that. Teresa TAK also said, I wonder, everyone, can Trucker John see me on the chat? Remember, I've had this problem. I can see you, and I've referenced you at least 3 or 4 times now. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're missing it. But I obviously can see you because I've mentioned you in the chat several times when you first came on. Well, you have to remember I am about a half hour behind, so you got to remember that. So whenever you post something, until I start getting where I'm really skipping down a lot, and try to getting caught back up because now we're over almost 2.5 hours into this live stream. So I will scroll and so instead of being a half hour behind, I might only be 15 minutes behind, and then eventually 10 minutes behind, and then eventually I'll be completely caught up. But for the most part, just remember when you post something, it depending on where we are at in the live stream here, I might not see it for 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, and then that's just the way it goes. That's just the nature of the biz, or at least the nature of how I do the show. There's something here. I'm on the wrong side here. Beatty Hurt says, "Remember HARP nonsense, the 5G nonsense." Yeah, I do remember that. Lynn says, "You're right about Michael Cohen, TJ. He still defends the tyrant at times." Oh, really? Hey, Pisces Hugger, TK is here. Hey, Pisces Hugger, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. So Pisces Hugger, I switched to Pisces Hugger. You didn't have to do that. Like I said, it's just I might not see you for a while. Pisces Huggers, welcome to Driver. Thank you, Pisces Hugger, for becoming a member. Yippee! Going out to Pisces Hugger, TK. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Josh says, yeah, Cohen has an interesting insight, but I'm way over it now. He's just remolded himself, but he's still the same me first, whatever I got to do guy. Whatever. Like I said, I appreciate him coming out and telling us what he knows about Trump and giving us that sort of insight. But it's still deep down. I'm like, are you really reformed, or is it just because you got caught? But still, don't mean to look a gift horse in the mouth. He does give out, I think, some pretty valuable insight into how Donald Trump works and how he thinks and everything. Richard says Putin is a dictator trying to restore the original USSR by force. Beauty Hurt says World Trade Center 1 and 2 were exoskeleton buildings, unlike the Empire State Building. I'm skipping down, guys. I'm skipping on down in the chat because we are going to have to button this up pretty soon. Yeah, Rumsfeld. That's it. Yeah, Rumsfeld. That's how I was trying to. For some reason, and Halliburton was the other name I was trying to remember. Cheney was a big. I don't know if he. I don't think he owned Halliburton, but he was a big on the board, and he was a big stockholder, and I think he was looking at that as Halliburton being able to go in and in the aftermath of these invasions and be able to just clean up, money wise. Squirrel Girl says, Josh, I am drinking orange juice and downing NyQuil. I'm in second day of it, though. Not much of a drinker myself, but I could start now. Slept a lot yesterday, but wanted to catch TJ's show today. Well, thank you, Squirrel Girl, for catching us. I do appreciate you, and I hope you get well soon. Get better soon. Pisces Hugger TK, everyone, I have 2 YouTube accounts, the Teresa TAK and this one. And I appreciate you coming in and hanging out in whatever account that you have, however you want to do it. Vinny Hertz says Colin Powell and George Tenet lied to the UN. Yes, they did. To the USA about weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. In Iraq, everyone at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency both were lying, and I even knew that they were lying. I remember watching Colin Powell in those Senate hearings and how he just poured himself out to the Bush administration. And I remember almost being in tears because I had really kind of the utmost respect for both Colin Powell and in the other big general. Again, I'm lost with the name, during the Desert Storm shit. And I just, and I don't know, even though I know Colin Powell is a Republican and all this kind of shit, I still had respect for. I bought his book, I read his book, and everything, and I thought Colin Powell was a pretty decent guy, a pretty good guy. And then when I saw him really just whoring himself out, and taking and just promoting the whole Trump, the whole Bush thing about WMDs. I remember just thinking, oh my, don't do it, Colin Powell, don't do it. I knew he was lying. Vinnie Hertz Halliburton, yeah. Richard Oswald was just a patsy. DPD 5844 says, what breaks my heart is the fact that not one regime member offered any words of compassion for Melissa Hartman. I believe it was Hortman, but anyhow, Melissa, I think it's Hortman family, and they chose to ridicule Nancy Pelosi's husband. Yeah, I know. And yesterday, as I was looking through, and I was getting clips, and for the Charlie Kirk thing, I was coming across a lot of the Melissa Hortman stuff, and I was reposting and redoing all those that I could, because that deserves to be, that woman and her husband. Were total. That was totally a political assassination by a right-wing nut job who was a Republican and a MAGA supporter, Trump supporter, and he went and murdered this woman and her husband and their dog, and he attempted to murder 2 other people, and that barely got any coverage, and nothing from Trump, nothing from the Republicans in Senate or in Congress, no moment of silence like they did for Charlie Kirk. And I'm glad that there were some Democrats that were, during this moment of silence, I guess that was in the Senate floor. There were some Democrats that were yelling out, and I'm glad they yelled out and didn't observe that moment of silence. And they were, it was reported, I'm not sure if you can really make it out, but it was reported that a couple of the Democrats were yelling out, like, well, then pass some damn gun laws. And I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they said that. Charlie Kirk is not deserving of any moments of silence. Richard, why was Jack Ruby allowed to kill Oswald? I don't know. Was he allowed, or did he just do it? V.D. Hertz says was once a government contractor. I guess V.D. Hertz was once a government contractor teaching DOD, DIA, Department of Defense. Not sure what DIA is. Maybe that's Domestic Intelligence Agency. How to use NORSAT equipment. NORSAT, a Canadian company now owned by China, which Trump last administration allowed. I'm skipping down in the chat, guys, because we're way behind. Gina Mater says sometimes there are dots to connect, sometimes they are just freckles. Some of you sound like flat earthers. I don't know. I don't know if I go that far, comparing us to flat earthers. Richard says LBJ was complicit, I believe. I'm not sure if he was complicit. I've never really thought of LBJ as being complicit like beforehand. But I think after Kennedy got his brains blown out, I think he was pretty willing to kind of go along with the program. That's how I've always sort of seen it. But, again, what do I know? Just skipping down because I got to get through this. Josh says, Mad Mac, I'm in an argument with my libertarian brother now, and I'm going to stand by my values. Mad Max says, I called that yesterday after he soiled the media by giving it to Rash Limburger. I guess that was that Medal of Honor thing you guys talking about. It means nothing, so give it to anyone that may help your current political ratings. MJ Daniel, it's worthless now. Well, we could make it worthless. I mean, we could make it worth something by reversing the trend and actually only giving it to deserving people. I mean, I don't think it's permanent. I think we can reverse that eventually. It might take time. Floyd Price is here. Says, I want to thank whoever gave me the Trucker John membership. Thank you. Well, thank you, Floyd Price, for being here. I don't remember who did that. Who gifted the memberships? Might have been Fancy. It goes by Debbie now, I think. I don't remember who it was, but whoever it was, thank you. Thank you. And Floyd Price thanks you. And thank you for being here, Floyd. I appreciate you coming on in. Let's see here. MJ Dan, I'm at the end of the chat now. MJ Daniel says NRA and gun manufacturers must be giddy. All they see from Kirk being killed is money. Yeah, every time these things happen, it seems like gun sales go up. AM says Halliburton made lots of money during the Iraq War, and many of our soldiers died due to Halliburton's shoddy work. Go ahead and thank Dick Cheney for that. Just whether he had anything to do with it or not, just go ahead and thank him for it, because he deserves. Dick Cheney deserves to have his name sullied, I believe. Vinny Hertz says Defense Intelligence Agency, UG. Okay. Josh says, maybe MJ, you're spot on as usual. Aaron West reminding everyone we got channel memberships that start at as low as $1.99 a month. That's hard to find that kind of value anywhere. And super chats, and you can also support the show by liking, subscribing, and sharing. We are at about 4,020. We just got 4,000 the other day. We're already at 4,020. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it growing. Let's get to 5,000. And you can buy me a coffee over there. There's the Buy Me a Coffee link. And we also have the PayPal account if you want to donate to the show there. Vinny Hertz says Halliburton bought Dresser Industries and Cheney when he became VP. They gained all of Dresser's asbestos claims. Facts. And isn't there something about an emoluments clause or something? I don't know. Tin Light Star 01 says I would have liked to have heard from President Bush today. President Bush probably wants to not be anywhere near any 9/11 thing ever again. Any memorial, any remembrance. I mean, next year is going to be the 25th anniversary, and so I don't know. And I think they're planning on doing really, more extravagant, I guess, memorials for the 25th. I don't know if George W. Bush is going to be, dragged out for anything, but I have a feeling that Bush doesn't give a fuck, and he would just as soon just be on his ranch and painting his little paintings and shit. But who knows? I don't know. Maybe he is out doing stuff today. Who knows? I haven't seen it yet. There is a photo of a person of interest relieved, rifle recovered. So they are showing on the news right now a guy who looks to be probably in his 20s, thin build, black shirt, black hat, black cap, dark sunglasses. And actually, even with the sunglasses and everything, it seems like there might be enough there to get facial recognition. You would think. VD Hertz, what's going on with all of our facial recognition software? It seems like they should be able to figure out exactly who the guy is, but I don't know. I was hoping they would flash the picture back up again. I wanted to look at it again, but he looked like a guy. He looked like he was 25, kind of a thin build, wearing all black. I wanted to see what his T-shirt said because he had some sort of a design on the T-shirt. And I was just waiting for him to flash the picture back up again. But I don't know if you guys have seen it. Maybe you guys have already seen it. The picture that they're posting of the guy. Apparently, the shooter was up on the roof of a building across the quad there. All right. Well, I don't know if they're going to re-show that picture. They probably will at some point. So anyhow, that's the latest in the Charlie Kirk thing. I guess they have a photo. They've recovered the weapon apparently, and they have a photo of the guy. So once you get the photo of the guy, it's just like with Luigi. Once you had the photos, and it was a matter of time before they caught him. Although Luigi got pretty stupid at the end there, just going to McDonald's and shit. I don't know if this guy's going to be so stupid, but I hope they catch him. I hope they don't kill him. I want to know his motive. I want to know, or I want to know all about this guy. But yeah, there's reporting photo of person of interest released, rifle recovered. So yeah, I guess that's the latest that I have on the Charlie Kirk thing. All right, guys. So we're probably going to be calling it in. We're at 2 hours and 42 minutes. I know I'm down to pretty low on the battery. So I will see you guys again tomorrow, right? Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll see you. Tomorrow is our 11 a.m. show on Friday. So you guys take care of yourselves and take care of someone else. I just want to see real quick if they're showing, that little thing on the roof. It looks like there's someone on the roof. You can just barely make out the outline of them. They're showing a picture of the kind of an overhead shot of the campus and where, the distance was and everything. I just want to see if they show the picture of the guy again. They should just putting the guy on the loop here. Let me see. Oh, now they're not showing him. Why are they not showing the shooter? Again, they've got, it looks like someone on the roof. It's a very far away shot. Where you can just barely see looks like someone running up there on the roof. And I'm waiting for them to show the picture of the guy again. Why aren't they showing the guy? I don't need to see Charlie Kirk throwing the hats a million times. We've seen that a million times. I want to see the picture of the man of it. There he is. Okay, so he's got this shirt. It's got sort of like a flag. It kind of had like a flag, but like with some sort of a black object hitting a flag pattern, on the shirt. I'm just trying to figure out if that's a clue. If that's a clue as to what did his shirt say? Was that some sort of would that give us a clue as to whatever his shirt was about? I don't know. So all right, so that's interesting. Maybe later today. I don't know if Boston Brian is talking about it. He probably is, and I'm sure Hal Sparks will talk some more about it. Oh, excuse me. We'll have some other shows on today that will, and you guys can find out maybe by tomorrow. Tomorrow's shows, maybe they'll have the shooter in custody by then. I don't know, but anyhow, guys, so that's it for now. I'm going to call it a day. DPD says there were reports that 5 of Kirk's security detail placed him in an SUV and drove him to the hospital. I had the clip of that, and I was going to put that in my clip with the Charlie Kirk stuff that I did. If you guys saw the video, remembering Charlie Kirk, I had that clip. I had the actual clip, and then I forgot to put it in there, and then I was looking for it, and I can't find it. You know how you lose a clip? Like, how does that? I probably at some point will find that clip, because then I tried to go back to one of the sources where I was getting the clips, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I did have a little clip of a bunch of these dudes just carrying Charlie Kirk's body and putting him into the SUV, and then it stopped there. But they from there they just rushed down to the hospital. I have a feeling that Charlie Kirk was probably already dead. I think he was dead by the time he hit the ground, but certainly by the time they got him to the hospital, he was gone, I'm sure. If you've seen the actual footage of him getting shot, I think he was dead by the time he hit the ground. It was pretty bad. Anyhow, guys, there's Thomas Walker. Hey there, Trucker John. Last night there was a close survey poll taken about the event being a false flag martyr event. What do you think? I'm ending the show. I don't really want to get into what I think and the whole thing. Maybe we can pick this up tomorrow. But I have kind of said that in a way as being this false flag thing. And I think it comes, if it is, I think it comes right from the very top. I don't think this is some rogue element, or I think this comes right from the top, and by the top I mean the president. That's all I'm going to say about this for now. We'll pick this up tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes and sharing. Thanks for the donations and all that. You guys are great. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers. I think we can do it. I know we can do it, but I can't do it without you. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. And right now, all we have left to do is our words of wisdom. So as we do, as a common thing, you get your pad out, your pencil or pen, and you write down today's words of wisdom, because you might need these. Okay, so here we go. Today's words of wisdom are as follows. Okay, as we
Well, it's time to say goodbye. The show has come to an end. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. We'll have some fun times, hopefully nothing too bad. We might talk about war crimes. Might talk about Baghdad. I doubt we'll talk about door chimes. But if we did, I'd be only too glad. So hasta la vista, baby. The show is over, but could I ask you maybe to take a shower? No, that's not what I meant, but I couldn't think of anything to rhyme with over. Now my whole rhyming scheme is all screwed up. Oh shit, I should have stuck to truck driving, who I tried to kid. At least when I was out there driving, I could handle a skid. But doing this live stream, baby, has been a real kid. So I hope to see y'all again right here on the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna do it again and again, right here in the Trucker John live stream. Yeah, the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna come back and do it all again. No, this ain't no dream. This is where we win, right here on the Trucker John live stream. it's time to say goodbye. The show is coming in. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Rolling down the highway in my rusty old rig. I'm a retired trucker, but my spirit's still big. Living in Vegas, where the lights never sleep. Broadcasting my thoughts for the world to keep. From politics to pop culture, I've got it all. Sharing my views, no matter how big or small. Talking about food, the movies and bugs. Shining a light on all the social issues. No shrugs, I've driven through the desert, seen the city so bright. But now I'm living in a different kind of fight. From my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. In my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. So you want to take a trip down Paradise Road, but it ain't that pretty, it ain't paved with gold. Everybody's got the dirty little secrets, everybody's got some things unknown. But if you ain't real careful, baby, it'll cut you down to the bone. Under all those bright lights, you've gotta learn to ignore the glitter. It's all about fight or flight, and you don't wanna do either. So go on down to Paradise Road, it'll make you wish that you were young. But all it'll do is make you feel old and regret trading in your love for lust. It's all just a big charade, it's all just one big game, and it ain't about love. It's all about the thrills, it's about staying in the hunt, it's about going in for the kill. So head on down to Paradise Road, that's where your friends are now. They're the people that nobody knows. So go ahead and make your big show. So live it up on Paradise Road, just don't let anyone know. It'll be your dirty little secret, it'll be your guilty little pleasure. Living a secret that the whole world sees, hiding in plain sight among the scum and the thieves. It's so damn hard to ever be pleased. Everyone wants to live the good life, everybody wants a piece of paradise. But where would you run? Where would you hide? What would you do to buy a little more time? Grandiose dreams of happily ever after are really just another day's end. And when the sun goes down, you just lay there wondering, can you really do it all again? You're praying for one last shot, you're hoping for one last big win. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along. Show's over, I'm out of here, folks. Bye.